you live here?
Yeah, what?
I just saw someone go through the window.
Yeah, because my front door is open right now.
Imagine coming home to find strangers living in your house, and the law says that you have to fight to get it back. Not only that, these squatters can literally sell your belongings, trash your property, and drag you through months of legal battles, all while police tell you that there's nothing they can do about it. And guys, that's not just a hypothetical. It's literally happening right now in Texas. Dallas now ranks number 2 in the nation for squatting cases, just behind Atlanta. And if you think it can't happen to you, just wait until you hear how illegal migrants are exploiting our weak laws to take over homes. This isn't just about property rights. This is about a public safety disaster that's spiraling out of control. So we need to talk about the problem, right? As I just said, Dallas is number 2 in the nation for squatting. So a new survey by the National Rent Home Council found at least 475 cases in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that have been taken over by squatters. And that's just the cases that got reported. So who's behind this? Number 1, homeless encampment vagrants. Number 2, illegal migrants exploiting loopholes in the system. Number 3, scammers faking leases to steal homes, and Texas laws working against us. This isn't just happening in Texas though. Atlanta actually leads the country, and Florida has been hit pretty hard too. But unlike Texas, Florida has already passed laws to crack down on squatters. And meanwhile, here in Texas, it's only getting worse. So even when someone breaks into your home, if they claim to be a tenant, you have to go through a lengthy legal process just to evict them. That could mean months, sometimes years, before you can even get them out. And now, TikTok guides are teaching illegal migrants how to abuse these laws step by step. There are these viral videos instructing illegal migrants on how to take over vacant homes and avoid getting kicked out. Actually, in one case, a Texas homeowner hired a repairman off TikTok and he turned her house into a squatter's drug den. We'll get into that story in a minute. But first, let's talk about how squatting is actually destroying public safety here in Dallas. So this isn't just an inconvenience, it's literally a crime wave that's being ignored. These aren't harmless people down on their luck. These are criminals, scammers, and in many cases, illegal migrants who are exploiting weak laws to take over homes. They commit crimes and they get away with it, frankly. So here's the proof. Let's start in Dallas. So this first case is crazy. Would you believe that even the city government itself is getting overrun by squatters? And that's exactly what's happening in Dallas, just a short walk from City Hall. For months, a city-owned building, a former homeless shelter, was literally taken over by squatters. And not just a few of them, 20 squatters had moved in completely unchecked. Nobody in the city government even noticed until Councilman Jesse Marino came across the building one day and found it completely destroyed. The walls were covered in graffiti. The floors were littered with trash and broken furniture. The bathrooms were overflowed with filth. Liquor bottles and drug paraphernalia were everywhere. It looked like a war zone. The city's own building, just steps from the heart of downtown, had become a drug den, and nobody in charge even knew that it was happening. And if the city can't even protect its own buildings, what does that say about how they're protecting your home? Case number 2, the Houston landlord scam. So if you're a homeowner, this next case should terrify you. A landlord in Houston's Maryland neighborhood went to check on one of her properties, one that was supposed to be vacant, only to find something shocking. A family of 5 was living inside. I'm not joking. Now, you might be thinking, okay, easy fix, call the police and have them removed. Well, you're wrong. When she called the police, they refused to do anything because the squatters showed them a lease that was completely fake. The squatters had forged documents claiming they were the legal tenants, and they had changed the locks so the real owner couldn't even get in. Then they refused to leave and dared her to take them to court. And guess what? It worked. Because of Texas's weak laws, the landlord had to go through a long legal process just to prove that the lease was fraudulent. And it's only when detectives got involved and verified that the documents were fake that the police finally step in and remove them. Now think about that for a second. Someone can break into your home, make up some fake paperwork, and suddenly you have to prove in court that they don't belong there, even though it's your property. That's the insanity of Texas squatter laws. And now we get to one of the worst cases yet. The Mesquite Repairman nightmare. So this one takes the absolute cake for how broken and ridiculous Texas law has become. There's a Texas woman named Terry Boyette. She was just trying to do some home repairs. And she needed some work done, so she hired a handyman off TikTok, a guy who came highly recommended. But that's when her nightmare began. The man she hired turned into a squatter. He refused to leave. He invited strangers into the house to live with her and them. And when she tried to fight back, he started selling off her furniture right in her own front yard. Her washer, her dryer, refrigerator, dining table, gone. Her home turned into a drug den, crack pipes in the oven, needles in the drawers, rooms trashed, biohazard conditions. And the police, they did nothing. Why? Because Texas laws protected the squatter and not the homeowner. And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, when she finally got a judge to approve an eviction, they delayed it for 30 days so the squatter wouldn't be homeless for the holidays. You heard that right. The system bent over backwards to protect a criminal while the real homeowner was left homeless instead. I mean, it's crazy. It took nearly a year before Boyette could finally get her home back. And even now, she can't move in because of the damage. And here's where it gets worse. I know. Worse. Illegal migrants are actively taking advantage of these weak laws. A Venezuelan TikToker with 600,000 followers made a video teaching migrants how to squat in homes.
A Venezuelan national dubbed the migrant influencers at the center of controversy this morning. He has been using TikTok to coach migrants how to live in the U.S. by taking advantage of laws protecting squatters.
Una casa en United States.
In his most recent controversial TikTok video, Moreno is telling his followers to avoid living on the streets in the United States. They can, quote, invade empty homes and live there, saying under U.S. law, if a house is uninhabited, it can be seized.
So illegal migrants are now moving into homes, changing locks, and daring homeowners to fight them in court. Some are even dealing drugs and committing crimes while squatting, like the case of 8 illegal migrants in New York arrested with guns and drugs. Florida and Georgia have passed strict anti-squatting laws, but in Texas, we're still waiting. For years, squatters in Texas have taken advantage of weak laws, slow enforcement, and endless legal loopholes to steal homes right out from under their rightful owners. Thankfully, now Governor Greg Abott is finally saying enough is enough. His call for action is immediate removal and prosecution. So Abott made it clear that the era of squatter-friendly policies needs to end, and I agree. His message was very blunt. Here's what he said. Private property rights are a cornerstone of our values and legal system. It is against the law to live or stay on somebody's property without their permission. We need stronger laws to immediately remove and prosecute squatters. So let's break that down real quick. Right now, Texas law is a joke when it comes to dealing with squatters. Homeowners have to go through the courts to get their property back, which can take months or even years. Police can't act immediately in most cases because they need a court order to remove squatters, even if the homeowner can prove that they never rented to them. Squatters can claim adverse possession after just a few years, making it even harder for rightful owners to reclaim their homes. So Abbott wants to change all of that. His proposal, give police the authority to remove squatters immediately, increase criminal penalties for squatters, close legal loopholes that allow squatters to claim homes they don't own. And here's the thing, the real question is, will local leaders actually enforce it? Because laws only work if someone is willing to enforce them. So while Abbott is pushing for action at the state level, 2 key lawmakers are actually leading the fight to make real legislative changes. So we have State Senator Paul Betancourt and State Representative Angie Chen Button, Dallas County. These 2 lawmakers have made it their mission to fix Texas's broken squatter laws. Betancourt has been sounding the alarm for years. He actually held a Senate hearing on squatting in May 2024, where victims like Terry Boyette testified about how the system has failed them. And he's now working on a bill to criminalize squatting and give law enforcement clear authority to remove squatters without these lengthy court delays. He's also pushing for tougher penalties for squatters who forge leases, damage property, or refuse to leave when ordered. Angie Chen Button has been fighting the same battle in the House. She has publicly thanked Abott for making squatter laws a priority in this legislative session. And she's working on legislation that would make it easier for the homeowners to reclaim their property without needing these expensive legal battles. So together, Betancourt and Chen Button are preparing one of the toughest anti-squatter bills in Texas history. And more power to you. But here's the big question. Will they actually be able to get it passed? Because there's already a pushback from activists, from weak DAs, and from city leaders who don't want to enforce the law, like our DA, John Creuzot. So that brings us to the biggest national development. So while Texas is fighting its own battle against squatters, Congress is stepping in with a new bill that could change everything. So this is actually called the SHIELD Act, and its goal is pretty simple. Make squatting a deportable offense for illegal immigrants, close the loopholes that allow illegal immigrants to exploit U.S. squatter laws, bar illegal immigrants who squat from ever re-entering the country. So why is this bill necessary? Well, because, like we've covered, illegal immigrants are actively exploiting squatter laws to take over homes, and in many cases, law enforcement cannot touch them. So as we mentioned before, we had the situation with the Venezuelan TikToker who, posted this step-by-step guide showing illegal migrants how to take over vacant homes. We had a situation in New York. 8 illegal immigrants were arrested with guns and drugs after squatting in a house for months. Like we talked about, some migrants are faking leases, knowing that under current laws, police won't remove them without a court order. And this is why lawmakers at the federal level, including Dan Mauser, they're pushing for squatting laws that will make it a federal offense for illegal immigrants. And the SHIELD Act has strong support among Republicans in Congress, from people like Dan Crenshaw to Representative Tony Gonzalez and a couple others. If passed, this law could make any illegal immigrant caught squatting automatically deportable. It could ban them from ever re-entering the United States again, allow ICE to prioritize squatters for removals. That's good. In other words, if you're here illegally and you take someone's home, you're gone. You're out of here. And that's quite frankly how it should be. But will it pass? That depends on whether Congress has the backbone to get it done. So here's what needs to happen next. Dallas needs to pass tougher laws right now. If Florida can do it, why can't we? We need more officers so that they can actually enforce the law, and we need automatic jail time for squatters. We need to deport illegal migrants who squat. No exceptions. So at the end of the day, this isn't about property, it's actually about safety. If Dallas doesn't get serious, we're gonna see more homes taken, more lives ruined, and more cities destroyed by utter lawlessness. Will Creuzot prosecute these property thieves, or will he ignore the law in favor of criminals as usual? So now the question is, do you support automatic jail time for squatters? Comment below, share this video, and if you're in Texas, call your representative and demand action, because your home isn't safe and neither is your city. This is Mark with Keep Dallas Safe, and take care, everybody.